Hey, you got yourself a website, bought a domain name, bought up some hosting, and now you want to start building your website, and you've decided to use WordPress. I'm going to show you how to install WordPress. Now, I'm going to do this manually, show you how to do it. It's actually really easy. And a lot of these services, though, Bluehost or DreamHost, GoDaddy, allow you to do some one-click install of WordPress, and boom, there you go. But why would you want to do it manually? Well, if you're like me, I like to know what's under the hood. I like to know how things work together, and I like to get into that kind of thing, and I recommend that you do it, because if you don't know anything about programming or hosting or anything like that, you'll learn a lot. And in the long run, it might pique your curiosity, and you can go and find out more about how to work with everything. So it's pretty cool. So first thing, I'm going to show you how to do this through Bluehost. And a lot of the services, though, that you use, if you're not using Bluehost, a lot of them look the same and have the same functionality. So if you're using something else, then all the principles are the same, and you'll probably be able to find the same functionality in all of these. So shouldn't be a problem. But I am going to show you Bluehost. So when you log in, the first thing I want you to make sure that you do is make sure that you're in cPanel, and you're going to want to scroll on down to where it says Database Tools, and this is where we're going to start. You're going to set up a database. So let's go to MySQL Wizard, the easiest way to do it, and it'll just guide you through a few steps. Really, really simple. Make sure you have a little text editor open. I am using this fancy little COT editor, which I really like. It's free. Okay, step one, we're in the wizard, the mystical, magical wizard that is going to perform his magic to make you a database. So give your database a name. Make sure that you name it something descriptive. A lot of people name it WP or WordPress or something like that. So for my purposes, I'm going to call it temp. Next step, success. All right. Now, first important thing, copy that name down. Now, Bluehost and other services as well are going to put a little prefix on the beginning of this, and that corresponds to your username. And so you want to make sure that you grab this whole thing. And I'm going to go back and just paste that into my text editor. That's my database name. So I recommend that you do that. Step two is to create a user. And I, a lot of times, just use the same name that I called my database just to make it easy and memorable. But if you name it something different, then make sure you note that down as well. Put it in your text editor. We're going to need all that stuff here in a moment. Password, we have a handy dandy little password generator. That's great. It's going to give you a password. Again, copy and paste that into your text editor so you can remember that. And they even make sure that you did it. So check the little box. I have indeed copied this, and it is safe. When you click use password, it'll fill it in right there for you, and it's very strong. It likes that. All right, create user. Easy, easy so far. Step three, add user to the database. All you got to do is click all privileges. Oh, the privileges of having a database. Oh yeah. Next step. You're done. Success. All right. That is all you need to do in Bluehost. So yeah, that's great. Next up, go on over to WordPress.org. And you're going to want to download WordPress. Latest version will be listed right over here. So just have a click and it'll download that right there for you. And open that up where it downloaded. And you want to unzip that so it makes a little WordPress folder there for you. You're going to need those files that come inside the folder, so just make sure you have that unzipped. Next up, we have to load those files to your server. So get your username and password from Bluehost, as well as your domain name, and you need to get an FTP client, just a piece of software that lets you talk and connect to the actual hosting environment so that you can put files in, take files out, and make changes, things like that. It's basically just a glorified Explorer, and you're just throwing files onto somebody else's computer, somewhere else, onto the server. So I use FileZilla. Like I said, it's free. It's a great program. So that's where I'm going to want to start. Now, when you log in, if you're not sure how to log in, get into your server's help and make sure, and it's on Bluehost again, it's just your username and password, and then your domain name is where you FTP to. So you might see some files and folders. It might look kind of scary when you first log in, but you want to make sure that the first thing you go into is public HTML. That is where all your web files are stored. Now mine is a little crazy because I got a lot of things going on. I have stuff on my main domain, I have subdomains, I have other add-on domains under this account, so there's a lot of stuff going on. If you are just putting WordPress right into your main domain, then this is the place where you're going to drag all those WordPress files to. If not, then a folder will have been created for you if you did a subdomain or an add-on domain. Mine just happens to be in my temp folder, and that's where I'm going to throw all my files. So grab all those files that you unzipped. Take all those files you got right there and drag them on into your folder. All right, so this will take a few minutes, so I'm going to pause and I will be right back magically. Okay, there we are. Everything is loaded now. Everything is copied over, and you should be seeing all this fun stuff right up here in your window. So there is one file that we will be concerned with, and that is wp-config-sample.php. So when you right-click on that in FileZilla, you want to view edit. And if you have it set up right, it's going to open up in your text editor. Now, there are a few lines here of concern that you're going to want to pay attention to and do a couple quick changes to. First of all, towards the top, you're going to see this DB name, database name here. So that is exactly where you want to paste in your database name. Make sure you leave the little quotes, paste your name right in between the quotes, just like that. Now, next couple lines here are going to be database username here, same deal. I made mine the same as my database name, but if yours is different, then make sure that it reflects that. And again, the quotes are very important, so keep those intact. Next up, grab your password, because the next section is for your password. Password here. Paste that guy right in there in between the quotes. Now, next section is for MySQL hostname. And for Bluehost, at least, it's going to be localhost. So you don't have to change that. And for a lot of places, you can leave it as localhost, but it may be different. So if you have a database connection error once you try to load up WordPress, that is probably the culprit. And you're going to want to look in your hosting help files and documentation to see if you can do that, or just contact them and they'll help you find that. But you're going to want to paste that in there as we did with these other things. And it's going to be probably something long and kind of weird, something dot something dot something. So just make sure that you have the correct host name in there. The last thing we're going to be concerned about is under this section that you'll see called Authentication, Unique Keys, and Salts. This is important for security, among other things, and you should really do this. Now, in the little section right above there, there's a link, and I want you to just copy that link and go into your browser and paste that link. It's going to generate a big block of messy stuff that you're going to want to select it all and copy it. Go back into your file, then highlight this whole block and just paste in exactly what it gave you in your browser. So all it does is define all this mumbo jumbo, so you're nice and secure, and that's it. That's all you have to do in this file. Not a big deal. So save it. We'll close it out. Go back to FileZilla. It's telling me that I was editing the file and it's changed. Do you want to load that to the server? Yes, I would. Thank you so much, FileZilla. Now, last thing you want to do, that file we just worked on, the config sample file. I want you to edit that file name and just clip off sample with that last little hyphen before it. So it just reads wp-config.php. That is important. So if you've set everything up in your hosting in Bluehost or wherever you are, if you've copied all your files over to the right folder in your FTP program and did the edits to wp-config that I explained to you, you should be ready to look at your new WordPress site and set it up. So I'm going to go through a couple quick setup instructions here. I'm just going to go to where my folder is on my server. Just type in your domain name or wherever you installed WordPress, and if everything's set up correctly, this is what you should see. It first asks you for your language, and I speak United States English, so we'll continue. Next screen, welcome. Oh, WordPress is so polite. Oh boy, okay. Give your site a title, whatever you want to call your site. I'm going to call this, oh, there it is already, Corey's Temporary Site. For your username, don't just call yourself admin. That's not secure. Everyone uses that. So give it something a little creative at least. I'm just going to say Corey. Corey? No. Corey. It provides you with a password, so make sure you copy that. You're going to want to make sure you remember your username and password. Very, very important. That's how you're going to log into your site, and you will be the administrator of the site, so that's important. Also enter in your email address, whatever you would like that to be. And that's also where you'll be contacted if you lose your password and fun stuff like that. Last option down here is search engine visibility. And I would encourage that you turn that on while you're just playing around and designing your site and just starting to build things out. Otherwise, Google and other search engines are going to be looking at it potentially and maybe indexing sort of junk stuff that you're still messing with. So you can always turn this back off once you're ready to basically launch your site. So log in, install WordPress. Success. All right. And it tells you to log in. So press login. And you'll just put in your username and password that you just set up. I like it to remember me. It's good to be remembered. And you'll come to the WordPress dashboard. This is the back end of WordPress, and again, it welcomes you because it's just so warm. Okay, I'm going to run you through a couple initial steps just to sort of set things up on the back end here and things that you should do. There's also a lot of plugins and further options that you can set up, but that is beyond the scope of this very beginner type video here. Maybe in the future I'll do one about plugins that I highly recommend that you install on any WordPress site. But for now, let's take care of a few things that are going to get you off and running and get you started on the right foot. Go on over to Settings and go over to General. When you get in here, it's going to tell you your site title. Now change your tagline. It always auto-fills that in with something stupid. Just another WordPress site that's going to appear places that you're not going to want it to appear. So change that to something descriptive about your site. Go on down. Really, you know, there's some other things here, other options you can configure. Nothing's a big deal. I like to put in my time zone where I am. And also you have some date options and things like that. But that's all you really need to do here for the time being in general. Other thing that you need to go in and do right now is in permalinks. Now, even if you don't change any options in here, I suggest that you go ahead and save changes anyhow. That's going to make sure that everything's set up, that the server does know that permalinks are going to be enabled for you. And You can change this if you want, just anything but this plain option. And that's kind of ugly. You want something nice and descriptive in your URLs. So I usually go with month and name, sometimes post name. Just depends. It's really a preference. But anything other than that first one is going to be good. So whatever you did there, even if nothing, save your changes in your permalinks. Couple more things I want you to do, you really should do. Go into posts. This will list all the posts for you, and WordPress so kindly puts an automatic Hello World post in there. Trash it, just hover right over it and trash. Get rid of that. Don't want it. Next up, they also give you a page as well that they kindly call sample page. Click on the title of that to go into the editor. I'm going to make a couple changes here, and I'll let you know why I'm doing it this way. First, I'll go into the body and just delete all that stuff. I'll come up to the title here and call it home. Then I'll go into the permalink section here and just reflect that as the permalink. Now, the reason I call it home, I'll click update to get that to take effect. The reason I do that is I'm going to take you back now into settings, into reading. Now, unless you want a traditional blog that lists just a list of blog posts right on your home page, like a traditional blog, then you're probably going to want to set up a static home page. And that's the option, the first option you see here in reading settings. You can either set it to your latest post like a blog or have a static page that you can configure and set up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to set it to that home page that I just edited, and I'm going to save my changes there. That way, if I would have left that as sample page and set it to sample page, then you would have seen all that sample page content come up, and that's not what you want. So I clear it all out, call it home, and then that's what I set it to, and then I can go in and edit that when I choose a theme. So that's the most important stuff. One other thing, go into your plugins real quick. There's always, of course, a couple pre-installed plugins for you. Akismet is always a good thing to have and a good thing to activate. So I suggest you do that. Just it weeds out a lot of comment spam. And there are a lot of like contact forms and other plugins that you'll install that can take advantage of Akismet to protect you from junk stuff getting in your forms and your comments and whatever. But the other one they put in here is Hello Dolly, and this was Matt Mullenweg's thing, I think clear back from the first version. He's done this time and time again, and nobody uses it. Delete it. It's I've never seen a site that uses the Hello Dolly plugin, so I get rid of that right away. So that is it. From here on out, you can go in and choose a theme if you go into Appearance. It'll show you what theme you currently have installed. WordPress ships with a few different themes that it gives you for free. And then if you go in and you actually look at your site right now as it is, then that's what it reflects right there. It's a nice potted cactus thingy or whatever that is, and a whole lot of nothing. But if you go back into your themes, this is where you're going to be able to add new themes. Tons and tons of free ones out there, and I plan on doing a video about some great themes. As a developer and a web designer myself, I tend to use a lot more advanced builder themes and sandbox themes to sort of get me started, so I'm not doing a ton of coding. I still do quite a bit, but not as much as I could. But that should get you off on the right foot of installing WordPress. You just did it manually. It's not a big deal. There's just the database end, and there's the files on the server, that end, and then you connect the two with that config file, and then you're off and running. So that's your WordPress site. I hope this helped you out. I hope you learned something, and I'll be back again soon with another video.